No dog sold or raised for illegal purposes. This is a historical and entertainment-based channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, yeah. It's episode 16, yeah, man. Just in case you ain't know it, man. Already, man. Are the heavy yellow bread dogs days gone? Are the Hammond dogs top-ranked producers? BA and his little-known Eli dog. Let us analyze the evidence on this episode of Bulldog Court. Bulldog community, please rise. This is your host, Get a Hold James, because we got to get a hold of the game.
Court is now in session.
Yeah, oh man. Yeah, man. Back again for another episode of Bulldog Court. This is your host, Get a Hold James, because we got to get a hold of the game. Man, I'm just so happy that, the conversations that were had on last week for episode 15 of Bulldog Court. We talked about the Klaus blood and the hidden gems within the Klaus blood, or can it be categorized as a hidden gem? A lot of people don't talk about it. When you talk about Bolio Tombstone, you kind of hover on Bolio and Tombstone and not talk about the bottom side of many of those winning animals was indeed a Klaus dog. We talked about the rub masters, and people like the gambler, hey, that was the word they put on them, and a lot more people, that they was the rub masters, and they coming in with a bodyguard. They're hiding behind somebody. They're gonna protect them, man, cause they know they come in here to rub your dog, poison your animal. And we talked about the best Chinaman strands, Frisco strands, some commentary was made. Shout out to the people in the comments who gave their bid, put their bid in for who they think was some of the best of the Chinaman strands, and how you can't do nothing but tip your hat to TG, because he have really developed that line of animals, that family, to where it is now become many different families within that tree. And so the branches continue to grow on the Chinaman Frisco family tree. Salute to TG on that. I gotta say this every show. I am not the judge nor jury, for it is up to you, the Bulldog community, to decide which way the tide may roll. So let's get into these cases today. Oh man, I got a little bit of a doozy for you today. In our first case, are the heavy yellow dog days gone? And sometimes I think to myself, have the yellow dogs turned back red? If you know what I mean when I say that. Have the yellow dogs turned back red? Many people who have the Red Boy Jocko lines of dogs, they will go back into either more Yellow John or more straight bingo, Red Boy type stuff. And they have had success for for good reason they are doing that. You might look at the way that Aycart was breeding those first couple of Mayday breedings he had. They had all this, so much success. He was taking daughters of Deadlift. Deadlift is not a grand champion yellow dog, but he is bred up identical, very much similar to grand champion yellow, but he has the Yellow John Jocko. He's a red boy with a little bit of Lonzo blood from the Lady Sassy Mead. Very similar. So after that continued success throughout the generations, and people, we've already had the debate and the case on the Jocko dogs, and they beginning to disappear from the scene. But Red Boy very much prominent still on the scene. You can always get you some Red Boy. But the Jocko, if you're not using termite or something to that effect, or Pollux or Tilo type dogs, Smurf boys, champion termite type strands, then you might be out of gas on the Jocko side of the game. But I'm just proposing this because within this is many different questions that people have asked within the Bulldog community as far as what is the real yellow stuff? Like, we've heard so much controversy about AAA. We've heard so much controversy about Red Devil. And we know that Red Devil is really, pretty much a foregone conclusion that he's gassed in Sundance. There could have possibly been a real Red Devil, a real brother, but he disappeared. There's been rumors that AAA was taken many years later, many years before, he passed away, and he was breeding a lot of different stuff, Tant was breeding a lot of different stuff to get what we call a yellow or AAA dog that wasn't all the way there. Okay. Controversy surrounding the Whack-A-Mole dogs, and those might be some of the heavier Rip Boy Jocko. If you really look at Little John and some of those dogs, very prominent on the Jocko side, very well bred animals. But it's so much questionable stuff as far as the performance, as far as different things, till people don't put them in the category either, but there's really in the more modern times, I knew the Tant's champion Dustin dog was a dog that was out here. He was very old, but people would be able to get some of the last off of him, and he might have been the real one. I remember Tant's Raz. A lot of people didn't get a chance to breed to him. Tant's Raz registered merit, back in the early 2000s, maybe 2003, 2004. He was still around. But you don't see his blood anymore. Dogs like, KC Coalition's A+, KC Coalition's DD, dogs of this nature that may still be the last couple of remnants left of what we know as a pure Rip Boy Jocko dog, a pure yellow dog. And I never counted Grand Champion Punk in that category. I don't care who if you want to be offended, be offended. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with being offended, but I'm gonna say what I'm saying. And there's a lot of rumors behind that, even when he was being campaigned, that they pretty much found that dog. The pedigree on him is a farce. That they found him somewhere walking around. Hey man, look like a pit. You know what I'm saying? Let's try him. And he was a badass dog. So they used him, and they put a pedigree on him. An outstanding pedigree, a beautiful pedigree. But a farce nonetheless. We really don't know. Some people say that he one of the dogs that was, may have been stolen, the SCP's book, GG type stuff, he may be in that. Well, no, not even a yellow dog, but more of a buck dog than he is a yellow dog, so, but either way, that throws him out of the category for me. So then you have, it's several other lines, but if in today's time, we're thinking hypothetically, if you were to ask Get a Holt James, where would he get his Rip Boy Jocko from in today's time? I would tell you, I would find a hardcore dog. Yes, yellow is in the back, but at least I know the yellow that's in there, I believe it's true. I believe it's a true form of, and I would use that line. And so I would use the Arkla Combine. I would use that strain. I would go as far as to use what we know as Gas and Sundance or the Tant's Red Devil stuff now. I would use that blood because I know Tant went and got that blood because number one, it was working. Number two, it really does have the true yellow blood within it, even though it got bucked with it, but it still has his blood in it, which is one of the main reasons why he probably went and got that dog. And he's a brother to a grand champion. So that's a good reason to implement that into your blood because it's not all the way a lie, but it's not bred the way that the pedigree says, but it is a yellow dog to a certain extent. So I would still mess with that blood knowing that, or any Gaston blood, knowing that it's probably the yellow that's in it is probably the real deal. in my opinion. And hold up right here. And yes, the Burn Stompy blood and the Cruz Rocky blood with the Red Boy Jocko is good if you can find it. But these are just questions that I'm bringing forth and to the Bulldog community. See what you think. Have the yellow dogs turned red? Are the days of the pure and heavy bred Red Boy Jocko dogs gone? And if so, can you please tell me how long you think they've been gone? And we've been parading around like they was always here, but they wasn't, and they've been gone. So this is my case. In the case of, are the heavy yellow dog days gone? This case is now dismissed. We'll get back to the show after these important messages.
Check out one of the best dog talk shows out here, Bulldoggin' with Bo, on Dogman TV, Thursdays and Sundays 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Shout out to his co-host, Nonstop.
Oh yeah, for our second case. Are Hammond dogs top-ranked producing dogs? Let us look into this. And when I look at this, I started with Hammond's Rufus, of course. And I'm just talking about, Gary Hammond's and his family of dogs. I'm not specifying on alligator or ironhead. We know that Rufus is pretty much a 3/4 ironhead dog, quarter alligator. He's not a heavy alligator dog, So when I look at the 2 registered American dogs he threw, first of all, we have to first begin. I had an episode of Bulldog Court, and one of the cases was a dog that was being bred in the latter years, breeding in the latter years. If you read the story on Hammond's Rufus, he was only bred for 2 years of his life, and at that time he was either 8 or 9 years old. So let's just say, from ages, he died with, 10 or 11, if he was 8, 9, 10, you got 10, or if he was 9, he was 11 years old, and I think he only lived maybe a year or 2 after that and died. But within that 2-year span of him being bred, that would manifest into 13 champions. And two of them were, 2 of these dogs that was being bred that came out of that were 2 dogs that were registered American. Now, after that, this is where the plot thickens. So you have to put, Hammond's Rufus in the same category with the Finley's Bow, as in he was able to produce exceptional animals, in his latter years, which is rare, I believe, As we go and further investigate, we seen that there were others who also had conquered that same feat. So we have another animal. We have Hammond's Snort. We have Hammond's Andy L, both registered marriage, and then we move from there and go to Hammond's Park Son, and then Limey Kennels, Neelis, Bay States, Miss Prans is a POR, East Ends, Neil's Son, registered married, then his brother, Springview's Popeye, registered married. Then you got Hammond's Hailstone, registered married, Hammond's Lucky Park Son, POR. And this is just really light work, a light research, not heavy going into details, and it's already 10 registered American or POR dogs from just, from the Hammond's family. So I'm just throwing their bid in for, top producer bloodline. Like, the Hammond's family of dogs has to be up under consideration for some of the best producers of bulldogs in the game. You can say what you want about the blood. You can say what you want about how Mr. Hammond was able to acquire these animals. and under what conditions he acquired these animals is neither here nor there at this point. His dogs have produced well around the world, and I don't think it's up for debate. You know what I'm saying? You have a couple of dogs that have won, 8, 9, and 10, and 13, like a dog like Melonhead, and there's some others out there that's escaping my mind right now, but they have won multiple, matches, you know what I'm saying? And went on to produce as well. A couple of these dogs that I'm naming, they are also champions themselves, or 2-time winners themselves. So they not only could they produce, but they could get down themselves, So this is just what I'm, bringing forth to the Bulldog community. And I'm sure if I could have went even deeper into my research, that I would have found even more registered Hammond dogs that would have been a registered merit as well. But it's just a light work research, and it's already 10 registered merit or POR dogs from the line. But just to put their bid in, I think people sleep on them as far as producing power, and what they have accomplished over the years. So this is just what I'm presenting to the Bulldog community. So as far as they are concerned, what do you think? What do you think about the Hammond family of dogs? Are they slept on as far as their production power, or are they well within their rights and heavily recognized around the world as being the producers and performers that they are as a family? Especially when you compare them to other families and the producers that they have brought forth before the world. In the case of our Hammond dogs, top producing dogs, this case is now dismissed. And for my third and final case, VA and his little known Eli dog. And the reason why I'm framing this story like it is, and this case like it is because when we think of Victor Aycart, Bulldog community, what is the first thing come to your mind when you hear the name Aycart, or if you hear Southern Kennels? What's the first dog that pops in your head? For me, good old Mayday. Big floppy ears, big as hell, looking sideways, just imprinted in my mind. But I'm bringing this case before the Bulldog community to show an example of when a person can make a sound judgment on what bloodline they want to go with from experience. And the reason why, because they've had other bloodlines before in the past. And I don't know if a lot of, people may know, VA, he had some very good Eli dogs before the Mayday dogs came along. He had some good Mayday Paladin cross dogs before Mayday came along. And so, dogs like Aycart's Victor, who produced back in the days, he was known as D&D's Grand Champion Gringo. But if you look him up, he's Headbangers Grand Champion Gringo. But back in the days, in the journal days, he was known as D&D's Grand Champion Gringo. But that's a Victor Aycart bred dog, off of Aycart's Victor. Then you had Southern Kennels Champion Mickey, Southern Kennels Champion Pretty Girl, Aycart's Champion Whitehead, and all these dogs are off of Boudreaux's Pretty Boy. So he was getting dogs like direct, from the source, like Boudreaux's Pretty Boy, a Boudreaux dog, of course, and look at all these dogs I'm naming are all champions. So it wasn't like he had some slouch Eli dogs or the dogs that he, that he didn't get anything out of. He definitely got something out of these dogs. And then later on he will have Aycart's and Perry's champion Miss Pac-Man. Some people kind of remember those dogs. I remember hearing Scratchline News talk about that particular Perry, who was Aycart's partner back in the days. I think he's out of California. But, you know, these are animals that he was able to get a good look at, and he just decided to go in a different direction. If you know, a lot of people pass judgment on bloodlines without having any experience with those lines, or they just let one dog that they seen probably quit, or one dog that they seen that they didn't like or was man aggressive, and they judged the entire family off of the one dog or the one bad experience they had. But I challenge all dog men and women in the Bulldog community to give a family of dogs a fair and solid chance to prove, you know, their worth. And if you decide to go in a different direction, then so be it. But you would not go without a fair assessment of the previous family. I think a lot of times we can be, you know, arrogant in our ways. Sometimes, a lot of times we could be, you know, overly judgmental of certain families because we seen this dog that did a bad, you know, had bad tendencies, or this dog that was bad built, or this dog that was, you know, man aggressive, or this dog that, you know what I'm saying, you know, bit hard for 30 minutes and quit. You know, whatever the case may be, we pass judgment on a family of dogs without the true just due and due diligence on our behalf to make, you know, to get them, to get a fair assessment, a fair judgment on what they are. So, you know, how many of us have been guilty of this?
Oh, you motherfuckers. Okay, I'm putting cases on all you bitches.
I'm just kidding. And so, you know, Victor, you know, saw where the people that he was running with, you know, along with some of the dogs, you know, he you know, they might have got all those champions, but they might have lost more than they won. You know, they may have lost more than they won. You know, when you run all the champions together, it looks nice on a sheet of paper. You know, we see all those champion this and champion that, but how many dogs did they have to go through to get those champions? Maybe another question. And so, you know, once again, also that can help in your fair assessment of a line of dogs or a family of dogs, and what you willing to accept or not accept from a particular family. But at least you fair to them. At least you saw all you needed to see, and you worked with the line for a while, and just didn't quit and give up on the line. And you know, and you saw what you needed to see out of it, and then you make your decision from there. So this is just some things that I'm bringing forth to the Bulldog community to, you know, help us be accountable and aware of what, you know, of what we look at every day, you know, of what we talk about and think about these things moving forward in dogs, and keeping a standard that's high enough that we all can be proud of, but being fair at the same time. So in the case of VA and his little known Eli dogs, this case is now dismissed. Yeah. Now it's time for my closing monologue. Like I say every time, make your next move your best move. But move strategic, like a chess move. Hey man, just concentrate on your families. Do your own due diligence, do your own research, and make all your moves count for something, man. This is your host, Get a Hope James, because we got to get a hold of the game. I'm out.